Well, the clothing thing was a big thing over there. That was terrible. When they marched those people down to the graveyard, hundreds of people, and shot them in the back of the head. They made them dig their grave first and shot them in the back of the head, pushed them in.
Glory to God in the highest, peace to his people on earth. For the love of St Barra is us hill, and dwells so deep in our hearts. Many have come on this journey, Jesus our Lord led the way. Island of people in the ocean of God, and the love that fills all our hearts. Glory to God in the highest, peace to his people on earth. For the love of St Barra, it lives with us still.
This church here is actually the fourth church that we've had in this parish. The first church was built down by Cooper's Pond. It's about a mile and a half down the road. I know my father's uncle was telling us one time when he was young, he was with his brother, and it would be his uncle. They were walking along this road because this was the main road at one time. It's not where the highway is now. It went down along the railroad tracks here. And they were walking along the road, and his uncle mentioned underneath, at the bottom of the railroad tracks here, that there wasn't much left of the old St. Barra Church. The first logs of it were left there, and the railroad actually was built over the top of, I guess, the site of where it was. So that was the last time, I guess, anyone remembers of any part of the church being where it was. The second church was on the point just down here, just to the east of us. And then the third church was built here on this site where the present St. Barra Church is. And that one burnt in 1972. And then they built this church, and it was done in 1975. October 25th last year, the bishop came and we had the final mass in the church. And the church has been closed since then. See the bushes here on the side? Mm-hmm. The little red bushes in the field there. Well, that little hollow there, the little hollow there. You just make out going straight down through there. There's like a road that continued up right up over the hill there. I think it ended down where the log church was. That was the road that was here before the highway down on this side. And we walk down here. That, if you consider the first log cabin that was down at Cooper's Pond, the first glebe house, the little place they had for the priests there, the second one would have been at the second church down here. And my brother was figuring that it was probably somewhere where the railroad is now. So that would have been, any sign of that would be obliterated when they put the railroad through. Then the third glebe house was up here. And it was actually, I guess, around that size, but they said it was built even fancier than this one here. And this one burnt, and I think it was rebuilt that year in 1926. That fall, the priest asked everybody during the year if they would donate like wood and materials and labor and everything. And by the fall, they had this glebe house all rebuilt, ready for the priest to move back in. So that was all the community support. All the people in the parish came together and helped build these buildings like that. Nothing around here looks like the way it used to. All of this would have been cleared at one time, and it was farmed, all the land. Even the hills, you look around, the first hills closest to the shore would have all been farmed. You wouldn't even find a tree on them. It's all grown up. This is the hollow, I figured, where the foundation was of the second church, St. Barra Church. Every week people would be coming to church on Sunday, and it was like a pilgrimage. Everyone walking or coming by boat. You can see across the water here. People would be coming from the other side over there, Gillis Point, Iona, and those places. Before the church in Iona was built, they would be coming over here, like to the second St. Barra Church or to the log church down at Cooper's Pond, the first church. And you can imagine a lot of them would be walking or coming by boat, or if they're lucky they'd be going by horse and sleigh or in their buggies or wagons. And the time it would take, and not only that, they would be fasting from midnight before so that they could have the Eucharist in church. So people would be quite hungry. They'd have to walk back. Sometimes they would be stopping on the way, have a ceilidh at a house, and people would be making tea for them. People would be together, walking together, and they'd be talking. It was like a pilgrimage. They'd be like visiting with each other, and it was a real community togetherness. Nowadays we have the tar roads and that, and it's so convenient for people to go to church, and the numbers going to church have gone down. And you don't see people, and they're not together as much like they were at one time. Sunday was devoted to church. All work stopped, and you just were with the family, or you went visiting after. But in the morning, like one time here, it was 10 o'clock, Mass was, and everybody gathered for that. And they walked there, and they walked home, and they'd have to, of course, do some of the feeding the animals and that, but the rest of the day was just being with the family or visiting one another, the togetherness thing. And I think nowadays we have so much, and there's so many things that can distract you, and we forget that we're here for each other.
Community meeting the last time, we appealed under Marie's name, and we sent a letter to the bishop, and this is the letter of rejection. While your letter states that you are writing as a parishioner, and the letter is signed only by you with no reference to any other people. It seems to me that he's implicating that it's just Marie appealing, right? And you guys know we've already had 2 community meetings, so she's not doing it alone. February 17th, 2015 is the date William died, and down below is October 30th, 2015. That's the day that she got word that William's appeal died with him. You guys were not notified by the bishop, by Ottawa, or by Rome that his appeal died with him. So you guys were in the dark for 8 months that you had it re-appeal. You just didn't know. Till 5 days he closed the church. June 3rd, 2013, William sends off the information to Ottawa. Nothing happened. They didn't forward it. So you guys were waiting with him on word from Rome about the case for 14 months by the time Rome got back. Because in June or July of 2014, he writes another letter with the information entailed again to Ottawa to be sent forward to Rome. And they took the documents out of it and sent the rest to Rome. So it was violated a second time. The third violation is after he died, because whether it's the bishop, the cardinal, or the archbishop, somebody should have told his community that that appeal died with him on February 17th, 2015. They let 8 months go by, closed your church, and sent to Marie that it had died with him 5 days after closing your church. So there's 3 violations before even the decree hit. So we already sent a package off. We faxed it directly to Rome, so nothing gets lost. 15 days after you close your church, you're supposed to appeal, and we didn't. It was 4 months by the time we appealed to the bishop. But we're saying the decree was invalid anyway, because there was 3 violations before he even put the decree on it. What we're going to be doing from now to May 15th, Marie and myself and the committee, we're putting the rest of our appeal in all documents, and we're sending out another package that's going to describe other wrongdoings that were done in the appeal system. And there's lots of them. These are reasons that the bishop stated why he closed your church. One was that you lacked ministers and stuff up at the church. And you'll notice in this letter, he doesn't bring it up because we just said it was untrue. It was completely untrue. And so in his letter of rejection, he didn't bring it up again. He says, the reason I closed the church was because there were $30,000 in the hole, because they weren't making payments on their priest. That was his big reason. Then what he did was took a bunch of little reasons that he can put together and use as a big reason for closing your church. So he's desperate because he's got to take a bunch of non-reasons and put them together to make one reason. And he says that in here. If we can come together as a community, you know, and it shows that the community's coming together and doing that, right?
I appreciate the emotions that people have as they recognize how their spiritual lives have been nourished in a particular parish with a particular church. At the same time, I understand the vast majority of parishioners have subsequently attended St. Columba and Iona, while a smaller group has attended St. Andrews and Boysdale. I think the bishop is using the presence of the former parishioners of St. Barra's going to Iona as justification for the closing of our church. Now, I know people who are going there don't view it that way, but that apparently seems to be the way the bishop is construing it. I think that's a very valid reason for some of you people to object to his conclusions. That you are going there not because you support the closure of our church, but because you're Catholic and you want to exercise your faith given to you in baptism. It has nothing to do with justifying his reasons for closure. And I think that has to be very clearly spelled out. It's amazing when a spiritual leader will use things like this to portray the wrong interpretation to events. It's really, really sad. Our forefathers came here, trees everywhere, so they cleared land. And once their own shelter was arranged for, they built the church, not even knowing if a priest would come by. We have built churches long before the Catholic Church was here. And I think all of us here are of the opinion that while the bishop may turn his back on us and walk away from us, we will continue to maintain the church here whether he likes it or not. It's in our DNA, and that's what we're going to do. We are not backing down. We will take this fight to him however and through whatever means is necessary.